Disclaimer. Hello everyone, and if you have seen my previous video, I reviewed Hasbro's Beyblade X Xtreme Battle Set. Now, I've also reviewed Hasbro's Bucket Stadium and went very in-depth on that stadium, kind of giving my thoughts. So, in this video, I want to kind of give more of a deep dive and overview of my thoughts on the Xtreme Stadium that Hasbro released. Not only comparing it to Takara Tomy, but going over lots of factors and all this stuff. So we're basically going to go through the deep dive since I have my initial first impressions, and we'll see if anything changed or if I just expand on stuff. I'd also want to mention that a good friend of mine, Dan, did do a nice thread on WBO kind of giving his thoughts on the stadium. So if you want to give it a read, you can also check that out if you want to get some other thoughts on it. Let's go over the first part, which is why is the Hasbro Beyblade X Stadium a lot smaller than Takara Tomy? If you've seen me do a video in the past of Beyblade Burst Turbo of behind the scenes, they kind of go over the process with the stadium where they basically explain this.
So as I said before, we worked with Takara Tomy, who develops obviously the product in Japan. Hasbro then gives them inputs and the needs and preferences for the Western markets, and then we work together and collaborate to make the new line. Takara Tomy develops the final product for the Western market. And then the other person up there is Doug, and he's a Hasbro principal designer. He's essentially an in-house inventor who works with Takara Tomy on these new systems. So, as you can see from these drawings here, we shot for the moon originally. We wanted all the rails, we wanted all the tracks, and then we were told what our package size could be and what our price point was, and they were like, oh, okay, we gotta scale this down just a little bit.
So, whether it's be shelf space or basically Hasbro saying you gotta fit it specifically into this box, those are the reasons for why the stadium is a lot smaller in size. The next thing I want to go over is a quick basic overview of the history of Hasbro-based stadiums. So obviously, for an example, the Japanese stadiums have always had these exits that kind of go out through stuff, generally on these main stadiums. But Hasbro, obviously I would assume, probably for the safety reasons, they basically have pockets. But in general, throughout the time that they've adapted Beyblade, for the most part, stadiums have either been okay or really bad, or really, really bad. Like the Metal Saga stadiums, I don't really think were good. I think some of the Burst stadiums were not really good if you tried to look at it through as fair as view as possible, especially the gimmicky ones where they basically ignore the whole part of the knocking out the bay into like a pocket, and it becomes very difficult to do so, and as a win condition, that was a little bit concerning, but in this, you basically have a stadium where it's the closest we have ever been to the original Japanese stadium. I mean, if you even reference the original video of the Turbo one that I talked about, it makes sense that if Hasbro and Takara Tomy are constantly collaborating on ideas, and especially moving into this generation, it would make a lot of sense why the stadiums are so close in design to each other. I want to preface the video by saying that this video is just my personal opinion, right? I go through the testings, I get my results, and then after I make my conclusions. Obviously not objective or whatever, yada yada yada. There could obviously still be general truths or that type of stuff, but I want to mention that as we kind of get into it just in case. So here we have both of the stadiums, so let's go over the measurements. The width on a Hasbro is about, I would say about like 31 centimeters or so. Then you would say like the width of Takara Tomy is about like 42 centimeters. The length of a Hasbro is about 41. The length on TT you'd say maybe is about like 42. I don't know, with about the height you'd probably say about like 12 and a half tall. With this one you'd maybe say like, I don't know, like 16 and a half tall. The width for the shroud you would probably say is about 31 and a half versus maybe like 41 centimeters. Length for Hasbro is about like 40, and this would be like about 41. You're looking at about 5 centimeters deep versus like, yeah, actually there's a big difference. Like maybe like 4.5 or almost like 5 centimeters deep versus, you would kind of get closer just to 4 centimeters deep. Then like for how wide the pocket is, it's about maybe like 10 and a half versus just like 10. For the TT Xtreme exit, 21 and a half versus this would be like maybe like, I don't know, like 18. And then if you want to get like how much this would be, this is maybe like 4-ish. I don't know, maybe like 6.5. Let us know, kind of see me launching in the stadium and kind of see if there's any real difference. I'm not going to really go over launch strategy per se, because obviously those stadiums will vary because of the size of them, but just be as general as possible with this. So just to show off both of these stadiums, because I'll probably have this be the start section. If I do a launch, 3, 2, 1, let it rip. Relatively, you'll be fine. If if I want to do 3, 2, and go shoot. A little more strength. You know, gonna kind of go up if I want to go really, really hard. 3, 2, and go shoot. And I'll go like super, super crazy. And I have to just adjust with the Hasbro Stadium because we're starting in this section for attack. I want to address how you launch. So if I go like this, it'll be relatively fine. If I go with a little bit more strength. Now if I try to go really hard or like a super TT launch, like 3, 2, and shoot. Self-KO. Obviously this happens in general when you try to launch hard in a stadium when you self-KO, but with Hasbro, you don't necessarily need so much strength wasted, and we'll show that in a moment. So starting us off with the Bay Battle section, we're going to basically do mostly some mirror matches and some of them actual combo battles. I'll try to explain each of them. So for the stamina section, it will be a mirror match between Hell Scythe Ball and Hell Scythe Ball. Since the Hell Scythe Blade has very strong impact in battle and it still works for stamina, it makes the most sense to battle these two against each other and kind of see what's the difference in a stamina battle for general pacing, what conclusions can we gather. So I'm joined here by the talented blader that is my mother, and what we're going to basically be doing is, for every session we do, we will first do it in the TT Stadium, then we will do it in the Hasbro Stadium to compare and contrast. So we have Hell Scythe, Scythe Enciendo, whatever, so it doesn't really matter which one you do. We'll do 5 rounds for each, maybe? 3, 2, 1, let's rip. So, more or less, we're just going to be kind of going over kind of like a stamina battle, but also kind of like two things that are probably potentially could have KO'd each other, because if I just did Wizard Rod on Ball, then, you know, the issue with that is just that Wizard Rod wouldn't really... I mean, yeah, it's possible for them to KO each other, but not as much as like a Scythe versus a Scythe battle. So, yeah, we're pretty much just going to go through it, just see, you know, what are the big differences. I got some modern stuff, some Season 1 stuff, just a little bit of a mix. So for the results, it actually doesn't really matter. It's just trying to see what KOs what in the stadium, that type of stuff. So we'll try to see. Okay, that was 1 KO so far. Okay, that was an Xtreme, so possible with these two, I guess. 3 on the rip. So you'll notice, obviously, in the stadium that there's a lot of big space for the base to travel, for them to move around. You know, it's a big stadium. It's a big stadium, and I'm saying this because once we tried in the Hasbro, after we do like 2, 3 more of these, is just to kind of see how quick are the battles and the difference between something that's just pure stamina types. So as it's slowing down, dropping dead, we're going to try again. 3, 2, 1, rip. So we're going to see if we can get... Oh, another KO, wow. So now let's see with this Hasbro Stadium setup, how frequent, the difference. 3, 2, 1, rip. So I'm not going to go for a cuckoo crazy launch on here. So obviously a big difference you will see is the space traveled matters quite a bit. So because they're more confined, it's a lot more intense for the battles because they're constantly going at each other's throats. So for this one, you should also be conscious of your launch strength, just because, I mean, in general you should be, but especially in this stadium, you don't want to waste a lot of energy unnecessarily. So a KO is done. 3, 2, 1, rip. Exciting. You can still have regular battles. It's just going to be more action-packed. Yeah, this is unfortunately the boring part that we have to get through, the slog. Nope, doesn't make a difference. They're the same combo. Keep doing like rip. Obviously, in comparing both of the stadiums, you will hear me say this constantly through each of the sections, but The big thing is that Takara Tomi's battles are a lot more drawn out. Hasbro, it's not nearly as drawn out since the stadium is obviously in an enclosed space. The bays are not going to have as much room to move, meaning they're going to be hitting each other a lot more. And because of that reason, stamina battles will be a lot shorter than, let's say, the average one. While you can still obviously get similar time and still similar meta, it's mostly the speed of the battles that's different. In general, you'll probably see in this video that's more or less that's the same idea. Similar kind of performance, just the speed of it. Now going on to our next section, we have Drawn Sword 360 flat against Drawn Sword 360 flat. This is just a mirror match, and we're basically just going to see with attack battles, what is the difference. 3, 2, 1, shoot. 3, 2, 1, shoot. So, something you'll notice too is how this bounced back and came in, which is going to be a big point to mention. 3, 2, 1, shoot. 3, 2, 1, shoot. You can see right there that there was a rebound. So rebounds basically when they're hitting this wall or here, or even staying in there and they come back out. 3, 2, 1, shoot. So you'll notice, even though it happens here and there, that I stayed in that pocket completely. I didn't really come back. Hasbro's pockets are better than Takara Tomy because the bays stay down, they don't really come back. Or you could use, if you like it when the bays rebound back, I guess you can view that as a pro or a con, but 3, 2, 1, shoot. Actually, technically that was the reverse, but yep.
That was nice.
3, 2, 1, shoot. So because again, confined small space, what does that mean? Everything stays, everything's a lot more intense. 3, 2, 1, rip. So battles are a lot shorter in a Hasbro thing. So technically speaking, a Hasbro might be like, even though the stadium I do think is also maybe half the time if you try to host in this stadium. 3, 2, 1, rip. So again, as we're demonstrating right now, your launch strength matters a lot. You can't launch the same way as you would in a TT one, because otherwise you will lose in these pockets a lot easier. 3, 2, 1, rip. 3, 2, 1, rip. So I'm doing relative, not too hard. So you have to be smart with your launch. You can't waste so much strength and effort, because otherwise you're wasting just all that energy. So, you know, comparing the attack battles, a big thing you'll notice is that for starters, as I mentioned in the launching section, the strength of your launch is going to matter quite a bit. Now with Hasbro, you don't necessarily need to have such strong launch strength because of the stadium size, how the bays travel. It can be potentially easier to self-KO. And obviously, again, battles are really, really fast, and since they're really closed off and they're basically constantly hitting each other, it means it's going to be probably a lot more quicker for anything attack related. So let's now try to see in an attack battle, which will be the same stamina type combination of that Hell Scythe that we previously used against Drawn Sword. And let's see, what do we get between attack versus stamina? We're now going to show, for an example, stamina and attack, just to kind of see what's the difference in between both of these when they battle. Oh, I think it was a burst.
Oh, yeah.
Nope, still one. Three, two, one, rip. So I'm not launching too hard just to see what's the difference. Okay, maybe I gotta launch a little harder than that. 2, 1, rip. Shouldn't be really flat launching. I'm just doing this for the demonstration, actually. That would be, yeah. 3, 2, 1, grip. Okay, actually, I mean, you still need to kind of get rebounds to Hasbro, but look at how it just stays dead there. 3, 2, 1, grip. I don't think, yeah. Very much a completely different game. So the big thing you'll notice with the Karatomi Stadium, and as general as possible, is that there are a lot of rebounds. Now rebounds basically occurs whenever in the TT Stadium they either bounce back from the extreme wall or they go into a pocket and they come back out. Now while in Hasbro that can still occur, the KOs are more decisive in a Hasbro Stadium. Because of how the pockets are, they usually just stay defeated if you knock them out. So that is a big difference aside from anything previously mentioned, so I don't have to repeat myself. Now for this section, we have Helm Knight 380 High Needle. This was kind of a staple defense combo that was originally used in the early meta of Beyblade X against the same drawn sword combination that we've been using. For this next demonstration, we're going to do part of defense, which is going to be Helm Knight on 380 High Needle against sword draw, whatever, yep, the attacker. 3, 2, 1, rip. So generally on defense, you know, kind of a staple one. 3, 2, 1, rip. Good thing with Helm is how much it flies around in the stadium, how it kind of controls that space, which can kind of lead it to outspinning a lot of attackers. Rip. Can still lose, but 3, 2, 1, rip. So again, you can see how it kind of holds on this space right here, and just like it's staying there, it's moving around, and because of that, you can see how it's just outspinning. We'll try one more. 3, 2, 1, grip. 3, 2, 1, grip. Okay, let's try it again now in this stadium. 3, 2, 1, grip. So we're gonna kind of see if Helm Knight. Never mind. 3, 2, 1, grip. So, I mean, these types are still functional. I just think there is still generally a little bit of a bias towards attack, maybe. But let's see. 3, 2, 1, grip. Like mostly because the hits are more intense. That's what leads a little bit of the sway to attack stuff. But you can clearly see that, like. We'll swap. 3, 2, 1, rip. That should be, yeah, doing shit. So in this battle, I think more or less with defense use, I think just because the battle's pacing is a lot faster because of the space, it's kind of hard for me to judge, but I would kind of view it in the sense that I do feel, in general, while I think the battles were still kind of close, that it does favor attack a wee bit, because obviously the space is a lot more closed off, and it basically attackers basically go to town in this stadium. Because the Xtreme Stadium, in its design, right, primarily the attack types are going to be using the Xtreme system, so they'll have the most advantage. Well, I feel that I don't think it's too much of a discrepancy. I do think that it's at least something to factor into this stadium. Not just that the battles are more quick and everything, but also that, you know, attack will generally have a slight, it doesn't mean guaranteed, right? If I say slight bias, doesn't mean 1000% it leans to attack, just means more than average that you'd see on a TT Stadium. But I think it's okay. Okay, now for this section, we're basically going to be doing 4 combinations. First of all, you have Shark Edge on 360 low flat. Now this combination is known for its smash attack and its upper attack. Smash launching them into the pockets, upper launching them up into the air. You have Drawn Buster, 160 low flat, another low height attacker, and the only difference between that one and the Shark is that it just is really specialized in that one-hit kill. Then after you have another Drawn Buster combination, this time with a little bit more stamina to it because we're using the point bottom on 560 points. So you basically have low height upper attacker and smash attacker, low height attacker that is really specialized in one hits, and then after regular height attacker that is specialized in one hit still, but just with a teensy bit more stamina. Against Wizard Rod 570 Hexa. Now, the Hexa bit is basically really important for the Beyblade X meta right now because all defense bits have low resistance. Hexa bit has a thick resistance on it because it's a balance bit, and because you are tilting, you're generally going to be kind of dispersing a lot of energy thrown your way, because if you were just flat, it'd be easy to knock you out and make that contact. Also paired with the taller height, it's a little bit harder to make contact with you, plus with the blade of Wizard Rod, that is a heavy blade, so obviously the heavier you are, the harder it is for you to get knocked out generally, but also it has a very good round shape and stamina. So all of those factors make it to be a pretty solid defense combination that is running through the meta. And as well, a more safer combination, if you prefer more stamina, is Wizard Rod on 960 Ball. This is preferred by some players because 960 has good burst resistance, it's a stamina combo, and it's the safest one to generally use. While it's still not too hard to kill, it's still a little bit annoying. For this one, we're going to be trying a staple combination of Wizard Rod on 570 Hexa against stock Shark Edge. So, do you want to rip? Do you want to rip? Good. Do you want to rip? Okay, how's it do? We can shoot. So this is a pretty staple defense combo. Kind of the go-to to stop a lot of attackers in Beyblade X. You can shoot. You can shoot. Perfect example. So it's not like some invincible defense combination, but it's very annoying for your pesky attackers because it has good stamina. Hexa really plays around in the stadium. 2, 2, 1, rip. So let's see how dominant it is. 2, 2, 1, rip. 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 Okay, well I lost, but I was going to pick it up and I didn't realize. Rip. Oh shit. A little bit too much, I think. I don't know, maybe it doesn't matter. I guess it didn't even matter. Doing shoot. Doing the rip. Okay, yep. Wizard Rod Ball, Drawn Buster 160 low flat. You got a strong stamina against a strong attack stuff, so let's see how it does. But like this is basically recent meta. 3, 2, 1, rip. Rip. If it wins, I guess whatever. Fair enough. Okay, I guess it wins. Like rip. Yeah, don't fumble. Like rip. So this is kind of an annoying combination because, you know, 960's ratchet is hard to burst, stamina's good, has heavy weight, decent defense. It's a kind of annoying one, not invincible, but annoying. Feeling rip. Yep. Doesn't really matter which drawn I get. It's probably going to be similar, so I could actually just swap it right now. 3 doing rip. 2 doing rip. 2 doing rip. 3 doing rip. 3 doing rip. He'll probably where I'm going to lean towards for my position in this. Let's do another round to this other drawn 560 point just to see. 3 doing the rip. 3 doing the rip. Actually, I'm pretty close to a burst here, but I don't think I get it. Rip. So again, look at the space where it moves around, because that's going to really matter a lot. So, yeah. 3 doing the rip. So one thing I think the battles do end a little bit too quickly. I think in general, because of the space, it's a little bit tricky sometimes on the X line, kind of how it bounces around. But I don't know. I want to try to get a little bit more. 3 doing rip. Negative. 3 doing rip. So in this section, what did we basically see and notice? I would say, again, you do see more or less a similar meta, just like a bit more, like, attack's gonna be, I guess, more easier to KO this stuff, right? Now, I'm kind of so-so on this, and I'll kind of explain why. If we had it where the stadium had the TT size, but the Hasbro pockets, we would probably get the best of both worlds, because in preferential treatment, I have probably leaned towards the Takeratomi Stadium, but I want to do one final test to kind of illustrate this point whenever I'm saying bias, and when I say bias, I don't mean strongly favored, just a little bit favored. But let's see Drawn Duress on 560 low flat against a Soar Phoenix on like some stamina combination. This Soar Phoenix combo is just good because generally it kind of trolls attack stuff because it uses its heavy weight and it's shaped to kind of bully a lot of stuff. It's not really great for its stamina per se, but it's got a lot of stuff compensating for it. 3 doing rip. 2 doing rip. 2 doing rip. 2 doing rip. It's very erratic in its movement.
Yeah.
Soar Phoenix by a lot. 2 doing rip. Not enough. Okay, 2 doing rip. 2 doing rip. There's a funny thing that someone said in Beyblade X, anything can win. I think in this Hasbro Stadium, it's way more true. Like something, like even the shittier stuff, maybe it's more possible. 3 doing rip. 3 doing rip. You wanna know what I think it is? This was already dead. 2 doing rip. because there is that slight bias towards attack a little bit more. Technically, almost anything can win though. So with Drones R Us, you kind of see what I kind of mean, because again, the stadium space and everything, if something like Drones R Us kind of has a little bit of a better chance, that is where I'm kind of thinking like, potentially it could mean that a lot of shitty stuff maybe has more of a chance, not necessarily because the gameplay is balanced per se, that you would need probably a lot more data to really analyze to be sure of, but more, it's just easier for stuff to win in the Hasbro Stadium, if that makes sense. And we'll kind of get into this in the final thoughts. So for this final thoughts section, what do I think between both of the stadiums? First of all, let's go over some of the basic stuff. We'll go over like two things. What I think of the stadiums, and then after just by itself isolated. So first of all, the TT Stadium has rebounds, which is something that probably most won't like, where the base can come back. Maybe you view it as hype or whatever, but in Hasbro, they stay knocked out and defeated. So I give a point towards Hasbro in that regard. Now, where I'll probably give a point towards the TT Stadium, the battles are a lot more drawn out, and I feel personally, I feel it's more fair battles in a TT Stadium. I feel because battles are too quick, because the space is too closed off, it's too hard for me to kind of discern, you know, how much of stuff is really can be as complex a meta compared to the Takara Stadium, because the smaller you make the space, the more harder it's going to be. Of course, that still means just because it's different doesn't mean it's bad, but I'm more in just the camp of I don't know at this current time if I feel it can be as maybe diverse as the Takara Stadium, and the Takara Stadium has pros and cons to it, obviously, but again, I think each of them have their pros and cons. I still think you can probably have maybe, I think you can have a similar meta, like I've been saying, but I think similar is the key word here, not the same, and that should be obvious, but I'm just trying to vocalize my thoughts. Yeah, we already said the pockets are better. I already said basically slight attack bias, like I've been mentioning. Faster battles, you can view it as a pro or con for the Hasbro Stadium. In general, obviously Hasbro, there's no rebounds, and the bounce back is pretty rare, and the battles aren't as drawn out. So the way you can view it is that Hasbro is a lot more intense and fast for the battles. If you want something that's a little bit more like drawn out, kind of more competitive, a little bit more decisive, maybe that preference goes to the TT Stadium. If you want more intense and kind of like this crazy shit battles, whatever, that goes like fucking wild, maybe the Hasbro Stadium in that regard. So again, each of them has their pros and cons. I don't think one is completely superior to the other one. I still prefer the Takara Stadium if I'm going in a competitive event and I had the option between the two. That is not to say this Hasbro Stadium is bad by any means. This Hasbro Stadium is probably the best we have seen adapted in many, probably I would say the best stadium adapted by Hasbro compared to all the generations in the past. If I were to, let's just say, even though I don't rank the stadium as literally that, let's just say if the TT Stadium was a 10, where would we rank the Xtreme set? Maybe somewhere in like a 7. Maybe a 7 is pretty fair. Maybe, I would think 7's like a fair enough rating for it. Now, if we're talking about that fucking dog shit green stadium, that's like a fucking 4. That's shit. We already went over in depth on the video on why I think it's shit, but that to be said, I think good job on the stadium adaptation. I think, again, where credit's due. I have always said this, that whether it's Hasbro or Takara, if they do good, they do good, and I say it. If it's bad, they do bad. And yes, that is kind of where we're going to start to wrap up. But if you are interested in Hasbro Beyblade X, obviously, and actually even the Japanese products, your boy has done video reviews on it. Make sure to check it out. I cannot wait to finally get rid of all those other reviews I need to get done with. I do have testing on the competitive channel where I go more in depth on this type of content. This is usually pretty rare. I also have the database where I'm eventually going to be updating it with the Hasbro Stadium in mind and all these bays I have to do testings for. But also, if you want Hasbro Beyblade X, I recommend you check out the Amazon affiliates link in the description below. Now, I technically get a little bit of commission off this if you use that link. So if you want to support me and you want to get Hasbro Beyblade X, listen, link in the description below. Now, if you want to get the Japanese products of Beyblade X, let me refer you to mallbays.com. This is our store. We have Beyblade X products, Beyblade Burst products. We have some pre-orders up for Weiss Tiger, which I think there's probably still some stuff left, and a bunch of other rare stuff that is crazy. It's an optional way to support the channel, and I appreciate any support regardless. And a huge thank you to everyone who gave a lot of support on the in-depth video on the Green Stadium. To be quite honest, I was very surprised at the viewership and the engagement, so I do appreciate all the support, everyone. Greatly appreciated. And yes, anytime there's a stadium, I actually really might consider doing a format like this. Obviously, I mean, it'll depend on the occasion, but if it's getting received well, I don't have to dump it on the other channel, and I'll do more stuff like this. So again, thank you for all the support. Hope you all have an awesome and amazing day. I cannot wait to get free from all these testings. I'm so tired of testing stuff. I just want to do normal shit, please. So thank you all for watching. Have a wonderful day. Take care and bye.